Incremental greetings. Welcome to N School Celebrity Podcast, episode 17. That will be a solo episode. I will share one aspect of my life related to the school system, and today is a special day. It is an podcast episode I had in mind to do, but I didn't want it to do it, to record it. And that's because today, uh, December 31st of 2022, I finally make it official. I successfully failed the PhD. Yeah, it was an agony. I wanted to postpone this, but yeah, it was unavoidable. I will know. I have known that I will not succeed on the PhD. Okay, so I will share this, and I will have to share some of the my own experience as an intro, so you can understand my thinking. Because yeah, it's kind of long, so I will just make that needed outline, and that's it. Because my point is to convey the outcome, not my biology, not biology, biography. So long story short, what happened is that I started a PhD. I did a master degree that I didn't like. Yeah, some parts of it I liked, but it was more on the biology field, and I studied applied in sports science. Yeah, that was in 2016, 17. Awesome. Then I did that master degree for just for the sake of getting into a PhD track, which I did. But it was biomedicine. It was not what I exactly wanted or what I have studied. So it was kind of off topic. So I had to study a lot of chemistry that I was missing and so on. And the point is not that. So I was kind of free learning for this. But the point is that I didn't like it that much. I prefer my own stuff applied to sport, right? Then what happened? I did the first year, awesome, a lot of hours until laboratory, learning how to do all of this research stuff and so on. Second year, more or less the same, but on top of that, I did all the research of the research group, almost virtually for free. So I had my PhD, which I didn't mention. I didn't have a grant. That means I was doing it for free, and that means every single day. Then on top of that, I was helping the research group because I was always tired. Yes, I was getting experience how the machine works and so on, but I was not getting paid for it until the second year, which I think I got like what usually is a salary for the entire year. So it's pocket money. So imagine this. I was doing it for free. Not only that, I had to pay the annual fees, which is not a lot. It's like close to 600 euros. But if you take into account, I'm doing the PhD for free. I have to put 60 100 a year. I have a second job, let's say, that is from the research group. It doesn't count for my PhD. What time do I have left to work to get an income, right? And I was on my late. I was 29, I think, when I started, something like that. Next month I will turn 35. So what happened is the sunk cost fallacy. I invested so much time for free. It's okay. It's like some other job that I had. Okay, it was so boring, so dull and painful, but I got some money out of it. So I did it for the sake of the money to pay the bills. Okay. It's not a good choice, but well, it was needed, right? In this case, it's not because I was not getting paid either. And whatever the experience I have, which I still have, I cannot demonstrate this on my CV. There's no paper that shows, hey, this guy knows this, knows that, has a competence of this and digital machine and so on, because it's extra official. I cannot prove that. So in the academia world, if I have a paper that somebody says I have this ability and so on, this almost close to meaningless. Which I actually have this paper, but for now, since today, it hasn't been used for all at all. Awesome. So what happened is when I started free learning back then. It's okay. I have Monday to Friday morning from morning to night busy. what kind of job I was trying to get a job on the weekends, on holidays, but it was super hard to get because of the schedule conflicts. And it's when I discovered, oh, I can free to choose my schedule if I'm freelancing on the side. So that's actually what I did. And since I was in need of for money, I was working every single day on freelance as well. So perhaps I was working until 2 a.m. every day. And I was starting the next day at 8 a.m. So I was working, I don't know, different jobs at the pool with a physical aqua therapy as a personal trainer, then at the university, then my PhD, and then freelancing on something related to Anki, flashcards, and so on. But before getting this niche, I did whatever I got. So translations to my native languages, very badly paid, and whatever. So I added so much pain, agony, sleep deprivation, and loneliness because I was like a automata, like a robot. I had no life. It's work, 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 sleep, and sleep. Not enough. Work, 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 sleep. Not enough. Work, work, work. Every single day of the day, every single week, every single month, every single month. I had no vacation. I work on Christmas, on New Year's Eve, on the Labor Day, every single day for years. For what? Just for having the opportunity to get a PhD in biomedicine because I didn't have a grant. So I was in a disadvantage. And with everything else, I am always in disadvantage because just for having a grant, you get more points when you have to apply for a job or whatever thing related to a PhD thing. You get more points just because of this. So if you don't have a grant, if you're in equal position, you lose against people who has a grant. Awesome. Then what happened is oh wow, I'm really done. I'm not liking this. Is research. It is a lot more different of what I thought. I was so naive to think how research was objective and to as biased as possible and so on, but it's full of shit. And the non-zero game and the non-zero sum game, the publish and perish, the corruption. Wow, it is really, really bad. And what happens that in my case, in my country, Spain, it is usually very badly paid unless you teach. You are a teacher. In a university, that part of your time is on research. But what happens is that they only pay you for, most of the time, they only pay you for your teaching, which involves research, but you're not getting paid for research specifically, unless you get some grants in some fields. It is kind of easy, like in biomedicine, for instance, that you do research full time, but even though it's not a great salary. But the point is that I didn't like it at all. It's, oh shoot, I don't want to do this for a living. Even if I'm just executing it, I don't do any research. I'm just obeying orders, no thinking, just doing the boring stuff at the laboratory. Is, oh, abort this. I really don't like it. So, and then the third year, what happened is that I started teaching just one semester. Well, 3 months. Because at the university I was teaching, instead of 2 terms per year, they had 3, which is kind of uncommon. And can you guess how long I lasted? One. Terrible experience. Terrible. I had the luck that the students were from the last year, so the fourth year of the uh, university degree. And it's the same university degree I studied. And on the same university, so some years before, I was a student there. And it was one of the new subjects, one of the, I don't know how it's called in English. Like, you can, that differs from the college and university from US, for instance. You have a closed curriculum, and everyone does the same thing exactly. You cannot choose a minor or a major. That's not a thing here. And then you have like 35 subjects that you can choose from a list, let's say. But that university was so small that the repertoire, or it was super minimum. So the pool you could choose from was, I don't know, seven or six, seven or eight. So it's like what three subjects you don't want to do, other than what subjects you want to do, right? So I was doing one of those new subjects because I knew how the machines work. I think that I learned working for free there, more or less, and then for just coffee money. Awesome. That was a terrible experience. My experience was just to express, to communicate that, oh, this subject is the least theoretical subject on the curriculum. It's the more applied, and there will be a written exam because we have to comply with the law, with rules. But most of the classes was just on the laboratory with stationary bikes, with getting readings on the lactate, on the blood lactate, so on. Super practical, and students could do that. No more details are needed, but is that, oh, for them it's something novel. Usually they don't have this first-hand experience to do that themselves. In a laboratory, that it is super expensive. If you want, you cannot buy this for yourself, basically. So, and since it was the last year for them, were about to graduate. It's okay. You will apply if you want to do, I don't know, something related to physical exercise or sport, and or high performance. That is something relevant, first-hand experience you will have, and you will be applying from day one. I failed to communicate this usefulness or applicability of that knowledge. For them, it was another subject. I want to graduate. I don't care about anything. They only cared about the exam. That's it. So even if this is not nothing new, I already know that. It was the first time I was on the other side of the coin. Now I'm not a student with one of my classmates that have this mentality. Now I am the teacher, the lecturer, and it's, oh wow, I failed miserably. I felt so down that what is this shit? I sacrificed a lot to be there, to that opportunity to be a teacher in university, because that was my goal. That is what the reason of doing the PhD to begin with, lecturer slash researcher. This is crap. This is absolutely crap. Then something happened. I won't be able to have to share some details because one of the reasons was because I was talking too much to other coworkers or even students. But there was a kind of disagreement on let's say the people high in the hierarchy in power had misunderstanding of my intentions. So they thought I had like bad motivations for that and so on. So you could guess that that changed a lot my experience in the university. And basically, they cut me off as a teacher. So even if I decided already I didn't want it to continue next year, it would have not possible, even if I wanted. And since I didn't have the PhD, it will be impossible to get to a different university because there's too many people. Too many people. So someone else will get the position before me. Even though I tried unsuccessfully, obviously, but well, I get my shot. And then I had a really bad experience with my PhD, I don't know how it's called in English, supervisor. So it got really personal, really bad. He was borderline um, to deciding to quit, so to expel me from the PhD even. He did it, but yeah, it was not the same thing because of the bad feelings associated, the how awkward, how violent it was, the situation. and that I had nothing. So if I'm not picking, knocking to doors or sending emails, I get nothing. So there was no supervision there. So usually it's a learning experience when you are doing the PhD, and I was doing everything by myself already. So clueless. Pam 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 pam. So what happened is, oh, you know what? Let's postpone. I don't feel like I feel really bad, really down. So let's wait until next year, the next academic year. It starts on September, and I will start fresh. But what happened is that I had so many toxic memories, and I was so desperate for money that I needed a full time job. And then it was kind of difficult because yes, I have a full time job. Then I was doing another master degrees because I noticed that, oh, this is way too niche and it's not my field, so I cannot be a lecturer on biomedicine or biology related because my credentials, my papers are from applied science. So until I'm not a PhD, I cannot work on that. And even though I will only work on one subject that will be applied to physical exercise or sport, so that if I want to work on biomedicine faculty, I only have one single subject I can pitch on. It's okay. Let me try something new, like a backup, a plan B, because I know now is, oh, that doesn't look good. I don't even know at a personal level from my supervisor I will be able to finish this. So let me start a plan B, which was big data applied to sports science. I have a background on computer science many years ago, which I dropped out. Is that is something new. I live in Barcelona, so this is a thing. It's niche, but it's a thing. It's and they released a brand new master degree. It was the first one on the country. It's wow, let's try it. And I have the advantage that I will be the first, what's called the first class that graduates from this, right? But yeah, I was working full time. I had a PhD. I was helping the research group. Uh, I was freelancing on Fiverr, Upwork, and so on. So I was working like a machine. So the quality was so bad. And I delayed the PhD because I had always to prioritize what was giving me money because I was getting red numbers. So, okay, let's take to another perspective. The sunk cost fallacy. Why I did not want it to finish the PhD. It's useless. Why in 2022, then the COVID happened, is why I don't drop out. I drop out in college, in high school, in a not a master degree, something less that is not official, post degree. I know how that may be called in English. Why I didn't drop out of the PhD? It was the last stage needed, and the last stage remaining. Why? The sunk cost fallacy was so hard that, you know what, from 29 to 34, or for whatever age, 27, I don't want to do the math now, 5 years of my life has been a suffering, has been a no life. I had no girlfriend. I had no friends to interact with. I could only interact with text on a very bad hour, super tired, and that's it. It's where is my life? I didn't have enough money to travel, to spend even the time to spend doing anything, watching YouTube videos or Netflix. Nothing. I was working since I was waking up until going to sleep every single day of the year, no exceptions, no Christmas, nothing, for 5 consecutive years. Years is my pain and suffering is that high that I cannot give it up. The sunk cost fallacy is too much because okay, then it doesn't compensate, but I suffered for 5 years, but I at least have one paper that says, "Oh, I have a PhD," even if in my life I never use it. It this like the psychological effect. I have this. It was too expensive. The cost too expensive, but the paper is there. That's why. Oh, let me postpone it. Let me postpone it. Let me get 1 year extension. Boom. I procrastinate and whatever, or I don't have time because I'm having multiple jobs at the same time. Okay, the year ends. Oh, let me ask a second extraordinary extension that usually it's never applied, but it happened. Something extraordinary within the extraordinary, that is the COVID happened. So the laboratories were in a high load of issues. They could not open for a prolonged periods of time because of the lockdown. Then a lot of paperwork accumulated, so they could not manage all the requests from students and so on. So you get even an extension of about 100 days. That is overruling, let's say, the quote unquote the constitution of the university. It's not called like that, but it's like that. This is what it is and cannot be avoided. So if it's written like that, the rule applies. So they have overruled that. So it is so exceptional. So I had more time, but it was still not enough. It's now if I do it, I won't have enough time. Why? Because I have to write, even if all the research is done in the laboratory, I have to process all the data, to write down all the articles, to send the articles to the peer-to-peer reviews. And what happened? I published two papers before that they take it down. Okay, then another journal, they take it down, they reject it. Okay, so a third paper, but every time you have to wait weeks. If you pay very high, it's weeks. If it's kind of cheap, you will have to wait months. So for I know some papers needed more than half a year to be published, and it's October. So even if I have the extension for the COVID, it will be December. It is almost impossible that they have to write everything down, send it out, being published, then write the thesis, send it over. But what happened? Yeah, it's December, but it has to be 6 weeks before, so the people, the jury or whatever it's called, have enough time to read it before the defense of the PhD. So December, 3 weeks before, it's just 2 weeks. So I will have to do all of this within 2 weeks from today. Impossible. And today is the last day. Officially, it's the last day I have to get this extension. I won't do it first. If I do it, it will be painful because it's almost all the savings I have now. Because I will have to pay the annual fee just because of the little extension. And I know that it's physically impossible now. Physically impossible. Now it's too late. Now it's too late. So long story short, I failed a PhD. Now I can say that I failed at every single stage in the school system. From what's mandatory, it's compulsory at every single stage because I had auditory issues. So I was getting problems with speaking and so on. I had issues there. Then on secondary school, secondary it's from 12 to 16, I had lots of bullying and so on. I was not studying anything, but it was easy enough that I was getting passing rates. So I passed. Then the high school, bachillerato, which is from 16 to 18. This is when I didn't pass the grade at the second year, and I had to repeat that course, that grade 3 times. Or then I went to college or university, computer science, but I dropped. I did the first 2 years, and the start of the third year, I dropped out. Then community college, I succeeded at community college. Then College again in sports science. I succeeded there. Then the masters, several masters. I succeeded them, but I failed one, and then the PhD. So yes, I have some successful degrees that I graduated from, but since I did more than one, I can say that I drop out or I didn't succeed in every single stage from the most basic until the PhD. So that's the thing. Not many people will be able to say that. Another point is I was in a super high depression, the strongest depression I had in my life when after being a teacher. First is I have been suffering and sacrificing my health, well-being, social life, da. For this. I don't like it. That's already a big deal. Then they have not expelled me, but well, it's like you have a contract of some months, and when this contract ends, we're not getting a new one. So this they are not firing you, but it's almost the same thing. And the toxic environment and so on is oh shit, because I planned this to be my life. I don't have the most social personality. And I noticed that when I was doing personal training and so on, I had a really hard time with getting hired in gyms and so on because they want an outgoing, super social person because it's more about selling personal training sessions than being a professional on doing them on those gyms. It is the sad truth. So I only did by myself as a freelancer, but without paying taxes because it was not enough the revenue I was getting. Is so now I think that based on my personality, the best candidate for the academia, and I did sports science. So if it in sports science, if it's not academia, I'm almost only hitting niches like the big data applied to sport and so on. So most of the jobs will require what I don't have, right? In the human aspect. He's okay, then let me go deep into this, into academia, so I can guarantee a way of living, right? Even if I don't like it, I'm not satisfied and happy with the job. At least it's a job I will get until retirement. I won't be preoccupied to be unemployed. By the way, I live in Spain, and it's one of the countries with the highest unemployment rates. And I have been unemployed while I was doing computer science and so on. Since I dropped out, then I wanted to get some jobs, and it was hard. It was hard to get, and it was super cheap, super low income that you cannot make a living out of that almost. Okay, so then what happened? Why I had such degree of depression is oops, it's almost my guaranteed labor life until retirement. That it was almost guaranteed. It's gone. I could have been working there, pam pam, every single year if I wanted to until retirement. This is gone. The salary is one of the best salaries. You earn almost more than Nurjon or in the medical stat. Not at the beginning, but you are accumulating bonuses of research and teaching. So as the time passes, you get a higher and higher salary, and you earn a lot of money. So that was gone. It's wow. Then what do I do now? Because my freelance was not enough to make a living, and it was too risky. Some months I had quite a good revenue, but some months I didn't. There were not enough customers. I cannot live with that. It's wow, what do I do now? Because if I it's not that, it's not just this university. It's if I'm not getting a PhD even, is the academia it's out of the equation now. and I cannot go to gyms, which was it will be the easiest choice because it's what I have experience to. But now I'm older, I'm unfit and fatter than ever. No one will hire me, right? So I will have to work by myself if I want to. So that was a pretty big deal, and it goes with consonance that I sacrifice the same cost fallacy. The same cost fallacy is for the paper of the PhD, but this is the middle step. This paper was for getting into the academia, for the job, and so on. The financial security, is this is gone. Boom, one day, and that was against my I know how it's called. Sorry. Usually my girlfriend says that I'm very negative. Something I learned on computer science is always consider the worst case scenario. In programming, this is useful. But I also apply this for planning. Oh, yeah, okay. I am actually, I would say I'm quite optimistic. But hey, let me plan if things go bad, if I don't do this, or like for instance, I haven't planned with COVID, with an epidemic, that the gyms will close down for a year or something like that. That was even the more pessimistic approach will not contemplate this option. So what I did is, oops, this situation now it's worse than the worse I have planned. I would have never guessed that within the first term of being a teacher, that end, game over already. Not because for me it was already shit that I don't like this, it's because they don't want me to work there. At a personal level, which is the worst, is oh now I'm screwed. I'm really screwed. I will have to start over and I will have to wait until getting the PhD, then start over in a different university so they have to know me, then just one subject or until you get a full time job. I was willing to do that, to start over. And it was at that point that I was so depressed. And I don't know why I ended up on Super Memo Guru. And it's when I realized I made the final click of the Prussian system, the free learning, the coercion, and so on. That was, I think, in 2010, more or less. Once I finished to be a teacher, basically. So I think it was 2020 then. Um, wow. And it was the best example. That needs a different episode. That, oh, wow, it is the time I have the biggest depression of my life. I lost my financial security for life. And the sunk cost fallacy of so many years of sacrifice against my will. Let's say it's not that I have chosen that option; they removed me from there. I came across the text from Peter Wozniak. It's oh yeah, the super memo guy. I didn't try the software, but I knew the existence of the software. So I was invested in reading, and I read from the web browser in a linear fashion. Oh, wait a second. Oh, wow, shoot, that's what I experienced in the past as a kid. And oh, I could relate almost my entire life to all of whatever he was writing about. It's huh. And then without realizing it was so interesting for me, the pleasurability of reading that I even didn't realize I get rid of the depression. And I was in the worst condition financially. I was getting almost no income, only one job here and there I was getting on as a freelance, but it was economically dependent to my girlfriend, and I had almost no savings. So financially, it was the worst case. And in health, I could say the same because I was not exercising, I was fatter, and my diet was very plain. No good source of protein because I could not afford that, like nuts, this kind of thing. So I had this cognitive dissonance that, oh wow, now I discovered the true path. Now I have liberated myself all of this bullshit. The academia, the zero game, zero sum game, all the schooling, all the coercion. That's not how people learn or behave or going. It's oh wow, is oh shoot, but what happens now? I see the light, right? Or I matrix. Now I have realized I am matrix. But what happens is that oops, I didn't finish my PhD yet. So it was like a very strong cognitive dissonance. That what do we do now? It's pointless because first I don't want to be a teacher, and the research opportunities I don't like them. I don't like how research behaves, works. Sorry, works. So is if I get a PhD, it will be for the sunk cost fallacy and put it on the wall, and nothing other than that. I will not use it. But on the other side, so let me have it as a plan B because I have to make a living. So if I don't succeed to be a freelancer or get a job, then I will try to academia as the last resort because I have I need an income. I need a job, right? So it's why it's okay. It's not that painful because now I see the reality. I liberated my mind, so I know this is bullshit. But it's it's not. I cannot. I know how to express it. I cannot move on because I'm still on the PhD, right? So what I could have done back then is to make the decision to drop out, and that's it. But I did. So, strictly speaking, I didn't drop out from the PhD. I failed the PhD because I hadn't had all the results within the time frame. It is rare the feeling I'm having now because it's not the same thing when you know it will happen and you cannot do anything to avoid that, and when it is happening in reality. One silly example: oh, they will release the next season of your favorite TV show, but you have to wait. It's not released yet. You have the expectation of that. Then the day comes on, oh wow, now I'm able to watch that and I'm watching it. So the feeling is different because one is the expectation and you know it will happen 100%, and the other is that you're doing it. I think in for plateau, this is in act and in what's called in potencia. In potence and in act is this difference, right? So that's the difference I'm getting now. It was in potence, let's say. I don't know if it's this in English, but now it's in act. Now it's the act that it is failed. Now it is official. Even if I knew that 2 years ago, now it's official, and I feel worse than for for had to say that to my parents than anything else. Why? Because my parents, unless the first one, well, my parents helped me paying the fees, the tuition fees, because since I was getting more than one thing at a time, one more degree, so I had to pay multiple fees. So I was working on the side. Keep in mind, I could say I had one and a half or almost two full time jobs for free already. So I had to start earning money on my sixth hour I was working that week. So the first 60 hours for free. Anything for that, I was starting to get an income, right? I could phrase it like that. So what happened on the sunk cost fallacy that I didn't move from my parents' home until I was 31, I think. Wow. So I was living with them. That my father was getting retired already, and among other things, I was economically dependent on them. And among the sunk cost fallacy that I think I didn't mention that is I had let's say that I had to live frugally against my will. I had no other option. So even if I was getting a quite good income in some years, all the income was uh, absorb for the tuition fees. And in my bank account, usually I had less than 1,000. So I needed every single month, I needed to get an income to pay the next bill, or I was screwed. So what happened? And then I was getting a lower income than that. Um, so what happened is that, yeah, I had, I don't know how to call it. I had to use a very old computer. This computer I'm recording now, it's still the same back then. It's super old. I don't know how old it is, but it is super old because I could not afford getting a new computer, anything, to dinner out, or it is a lot. Imagine not having enough time to date somebody or to meet friends. But I could not even order a pizza, something as simple as that. Um, so I was eating very plain, everything that it was bought at the supermarket with my parents' money, by the way. And that lasted for a long period of time. Imagine reaching 31 and having done anything other than work, 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 and study, and then you threw this over the window. Ah, if today, sorry, if 2 years ago, when I had the opportunity to drop out of the PhD, I had an income, a rebel income, a job, so a contract, and so on, I would have done it, but I didn't. So I kept it as a plan B because I'm not financially secure. Actually, I'm in debt with friends because I asked money in the past, and I cannot see what I can see to make to move on and have a meaningful life with a meaningful salary, security, financial security, and something that I like. It's not, oh, I will have a trade off or the academia that I don't like for something else that I also don't like. What's the point of doing that, right? So I think I talk a little in circles. That's because it was not planned. I had some bullet points in the mind, but my mind was too busy. Um, yeah, so nothing more to share today. Just I finally failed a PhD. Ah, yeah, one last thing. On high school, when I was getting the same grade, I was repeating the grade. There's an expression in English, and I forgot. I have one flashcard about that, by the way. That you keep the same grade. So you do the second, next year you do the second again, and so on. So what happened is that I expressed this trapped in time feeling without cutting my hair, letting my hair grow. And it was the only point in my life that I had long hair. And when I mean long hair, is 4 years, slightly more, without cutting it ever. So that was long. Then on the PhD, I did kind of the same, but instead of my hair, since I was working and so on, so I had to follow some restrictions on the company. I did it with little things, like in my WhatsApp image. It's the same one, and I decided, you know what? I will only change the image, the avatar, once I finish the PhD. For the good. Back then it was not bad, and then is if I finish it or drop from it, whatever it is. When I can move on, I will change the picture. So I reserve this right, and I will do it tomorrow morning when I wake up and it's official to represent, to move on. It's so ironic that one of my Twitter accounts, it's Guillem PhD, because I take it for granted that I will go by that route. That I reserved my username and so on. So I will take my pleasure to delete that account and that Google Gmail account as well, and finally move on. But I will always be triggered when I see the PhD. Someone mentions the PhD, or I read some scientific paper, which I do. I know in other fields, I will get triggered of this memory. The only difference is that this memory it will become non-toxic, or is it? Oh yeah, it's there. One of the mistakes I did at the past, and that's it. Because no one will give me back the time. No one will give me back the non-money I earn, the everything I did for free. No one will give me back the social life I lost. No one will give me back the sleep depression, and therefore they will not give me back the health I sacrificed for 4 years. It's not that it's some months, it's a peak, no, 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 it's years. This gets, um, I'm pretty sure a deal of that it's undone. I have reduced my life expectancy because of those years. The high stress, the low sleep quality, and so on. So 50 minutes. That's been Sleep. Stop School Slavery, episode 17. I think it is my third episode solo. There will be more. Just to let you know, you can join the Discord server, send me a DM, whatever. And if you want my advice, don't get a PhD unless you're in a field that is almost needed, like the opposite of the case of sports science, like in math or physics. This kind of field that is super theoretical is not worth it. Especially because if you are free learning, especially, you will end up to alter circle. So you will, before the PhD, you will need a master's, and in order to get into a master's, you need a bachelor's. So you will have lots of years of bullshit just to get a PhD. So if you are in a position to choose, I will choose something more creative. That could be anything. You could be a designer, um, a programmer, podcaster, whatever. Yes, there's not that financial security on the more creative fields, but I will give it a shot. And then if you want, you can make a plan B. If I could go back in life, that's what I would have done. Nothing more to add today. Take care.